We spend so much of our lives trying to avoid hardship, right? We see challenges as things to be dodged. But what if that's all wrong? What if the toughest things we go through are actually the very engine of our greatest strengths? That's the powerful and honestly pretty counterintuitive idea we're going to dig into today.
I mean, you've heard this saying a million times, right? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But is it actually true? Does facing tough times genuinely make us more capable, or does it just, wear us down? That's the big question we're tackling.
Okay, so to really get this, you have to understand that whenever a crisis hits, any crisis, there are these two massive opposing forces that immediately come into play. One of them brings out the best in us, and the other, well, it brings out the worst.
So on one hand, you've got our own built-in resilience. It's that deep-down well of compassion and grit that we all have as human beings. But on the other side, you have what you could call the merchants of fear. These are the people or groups who actually profit from creating anxiety and making a bad situation even worse.
And we've all seen this happen. Think about the pandemic or the war in Ukraine. These profiteers saw a chance to make a buck, they hoarded essential stuff, created these fake shortages, also they could sell things later at insane prices. It's a totally cynical move that just preys on our collective fear.
But here's the amazing part. Even with those merchants of fear lurking around, adversity often kicks off this incredibly powerful positive chain reaction. When you look at it on a national level, a huge obstacle doesn't just present a problem. It can actually forge entirely new strengths and push a country toward being more self-sufficient.
So get this, there's this one country that was totally dependent on its neighbor for livestock. Then boom, one day, the neighbor just bans all imports. Now that sounds like a recipe for total disaster, right? But it turned into a massive blessing in disguise. It forced the country to innovate, and today, it's completely self-sufficient in animal protein. That crisis literally unlocked a capability they never knew they had.
Okay, let's look at some numbers. Back in July 2021, terrible floods swept through Germany. The number of people who died? Around 220.
Okay, now hold that number in your head. The year before, in 2020, a way more severe cyclone slammed into Bangladesh, and the death toll there? Just 26. So how in the world does a poorer, way more densely populated country manage to do so much better in a worse storm?
Well, people in Europe were just in shock. It was total disbelief. This quote from a German citizen really says it all. The thinking was, how can this happen here, in a rich country like Germany? But that way of thinking, it really misses the whole point.
And this is where it all clicks. In fact, the German news outlet Deutsche Welle published this incredible piece saying that wealthy nations like Germany should be learning from Bangladesh. And why? Because their constant, tragic struggle with cyclones forced them to build one of the most sophisticated disaster management systems on the planet. Their adversity built a world-class capability, and it changed their entire national mindset from being victims to being experts.
So this isn't just about countries and governments. This idea plays out even more powerfully, I think, on a personal level. Let's look at some absolutely incredible stories of people who took their struggles and turned them into something amazing. Let me tell you about a young woman named Shuli. This quote, wow, it just captures the kind of impossible choices she had to make every single day, literally choosing between eating and learning. She was married off young to try and escape poverty. Her in-laws tried to stop her from studying, but she just refused to give up. And this year, she graduated with a medical degree. Just incredible. And what's amazing is that Shuli is not some one-in-a-million story. You have Kishore, the son of a day laborer, Mosammat, who was tutoring other kids when she was in 7th grade just to pay for her own books, Marufa, a fisherman's daughter whose family often went without meals, and Sabuj, a vegetable seller's son. Every single one of them fought through unbelievable odds to get into medical college. That hardship created a focus and a drive that most of us can only imagine.
Okay, so hearing these stories is, wow, it's incredibly inspiring. But it also begs the question, right? Do you have to go through something that extreme to build that kind of grit? Well, the answer is no, not at all. We can actually choose to build resilience in our own lives. And modern science is pointing us towards some very old, very powerful ways to do it.
So check this out. Over in Australia, there's this really cool shift happening in medicine. It's called social prescribing. Doctors are realizing that pills aren't always the answer. So for chronic illnesses, they're starting to prescribe, well, activities.
And this isn't some small niche problem we're talking about. The numbers are huge. About 1/5 of the entire population there has to deal with multiple chronic conditions, and a lot of them are tied to things like loneliness and mental health.
So what are these prescriptions doctors are handing out?
It really boils down to 3 simple but super powerful things. Number 1, meaningful social interaction, to fight back against loneliness. Number 2, things like yoga and meditation to help calm the mind and the body. And number 3, just good old-fashioned physical activity. It's about treating the whole person, not just the symptom.
And all of this really points to a much bigger idea of what it means to be healthy. It's not just about not being sick, it's about actively building a state of what you could call total fitness.
You see, real wellness has 4 main pillars. There's your physical, your mental, your social, and your spiritual health, and they're all connected. You simply can't be at your best if you're isolated and lonely, no matter how much you go to the gym. And if there's one thing to really take away from all this, it's this. It's great to learn about all these tools, to understand why meditation is good for you or why community matters. But just knowing this stuff, it isn't enough. The real change, the real capability, only gets unlocked when you put it into practice, consistently. So I want to leave you with a question to think about for yourself. Look at the biggest challenge you're facing in your life right now. It could be big, it could be small. And instead of just seeing it as a problem, ask yourself, what new strength, what hidden capability is this challenge waiting to unlock inside of me?